I actually think Mav could get some ownership there as well. So they both might be similar, but you get what I'm saying.
People love Mav. I fall victim. If his first name wasn't Maverick, I don't think anyone would ever play this guy.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog Fantasy, Charles Schwab Challenge, DraftKings picks, lineups, ownership, plus the weather, the final bets, and some Underdog Pick'Em. So go to Underdog Fantasy right now. Use code Mayo and get a deposit bonus of up to $250. Help support the show. Tambo in studio. How was the 1-year anniversary of Ship It Nation?
Very good. Yeah, successful, fun, a lot of good stuff to go off of. Going to be a good year two. Year one, foundation. Year two, structure. So we're working on a lot of that, but appreciate all the support out there. Great event. I heard some of your takes and other people's around the event last week, but I enjoyed it. I thought the PGA Championship was awesome, and I get that everyone's against the course or whatever it might be, but we got an awesome finish. Only thing that could have made it better is if we got that Bryson versus Xander aggregate playoff. That would have been sweet.
You mean Theegala just winning and not playing so poorly to knock me out of the money in the 250?
From a fan perspective, I'll say that. But my thing is this. We got robbed of the Spieth DJ at Chambers,
Chambers Bay.
Chambers Bay, when it would have been like one of the last chances to get that 18-hole Monday playoff, and we did not get that. So I thought maybe if we get an aggregate here after all the Bryson hype, and you see the ratings were up. Did you see that one?
Yeah, but they were at an all-time low last
the year before. Yes, okay, you got it. You caught that part. But everyone was joking. I know they're just teasing about the Xander effect, but definitely the Bryson effect, right? Like that was awesome.
I would tend to agree with you. I think it very much is the Bryson effect.
Oh, big time.
And I was trying to wrap my mind around it because now people are like, oh my God, I wish Bryson wasn't on Live and we can see him every week. I think this actually works to Bryson's favor, that we don't see him all that often. Because the more that we saw of Bryson, the less people liked Bryson. But now when you only see him on a big stage 4 times a year, that it's like, it's a novelty, but it's a fun novelty.
Oh, it's amazing. He's just a walking content creator. He's obviously a real one doing YouTube stuff, but I mean, just in general, the stuff he does. And that's when we got to see a lot more of him. That's where the polarization came from of like the ants in the dirt and the fence and trying to pull. That's like, it's just, some hate him, some love him. Anytime you involve that, you're going to get viral effect from it. And that's what you get with Bryson. Of course, the ball to the kid. Dude took off, by the way. Did you see that? He throws the ball to the dude. The dude's halfway gone.
He got him back.
Everyone's like, get him back. And he came back and acted like nothing happened, but he was gone. He was off to the races. He knew what he was doing.
Was it? I couldn't tell if it was like a late teen, an early teen, or if it was an actual adult.
If it was a teen, it was a very big dude, like for his age. Like he was definitely taller and looked a little bit stronger. So I would say it was like probably early 30s is what he looked like, just running off with it.
Who are you in your early 30s if this is what you're doing?
Begging for a ball, selling on eBay, man. Got to get that money. Inflation.
Would you get that much money from it?
I have no idea. Honestly,
I would say no.
The ball's worth more now that it's from the viral clip versus if you just got Bryson throwing a ball coming off the green, can't be worth that much for that scene. I just don't think so.
Well, let's get to the Underdog. We're going to do Pick'Em this week instead of the draft. I mean, I'm going to be doing my drafts. The PME Classic is open right now. Let's go fill that. But I want to get back in the Pick'Em. I like Pick'Em.
Tired of picking on me in the drafts and beating me at every draft we do, so you want to get back to the pick'ems? That's
exactly,
fair.
Yeah. I'm going to help you out a little bit to see if you can defeat me. But this way we can win together. So we were talking a little bit beforehand about what we like to target for pick'ems. And I usually do it early in the week when there's not as many available. Now the whole smorgasbord of fantasy props are available for every golfer. Underdog has even introduced tournament winner placements, like higher or lower than this finishing spot. The Scottie ones are like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's justified, obviously, but you can get him top 5 finish at like less than even money, which is what it is in the betting market as well. Right. It's just funny to see it up on the screen. But what I wanted to do, though, can you click on your Rivals tab? Round 1 Rivals.
Where did we go to this one?
I got it. I've had a lot of success with the Rivals and head-to-head and finding either finding guys that I like or finding guys that I don't like to go pick on and just kind of blindly taking the other side. So I had 3 of them, and I want to run them by you to see if it ends up working out in our favor here. Number 1, Max Homa over Seb Straka, round 1.
I'm in on that one.
Do you have any particular feelings towards Straka? That felt like a mismatch. Not that one guy can't beat another guy in any particular round, but that felt like a huge disparity between talent overall.
Yeah, I think so. And also just Straka is another guy that's really hard to get right. I think we even talked about it last week when there was like a little bit of love there, and it didn't end up being heavy on ownership or anything like that. But we just talked about how it's like, what is the deal? Obviously his form coming in was very good, but it's like, what Straka are you going to get? I feel good about the Max Homa over Straka there. So I do like that one. To kick
Okay.
things off.
So we'll add that one to the list.
Okay.
Tom Hoagie, who is going to win this tournament, so you probably want him in some capacity, over Tom Kim. I worry that Tom Kim has had like flashes of really good rounds.
Yeah.
But it's usually one good round and 3 bad rounds. So why don't we just try to hope that round 1 is his bad round?
Yeah, we're jumping ahead. Do you have any quick weather thoughts? I mean, I'm just looking at it from that perspective. I didn't know if you were going to factor that in because it is a round 1. They are both in the same wave.
Underdog generally puts the people in the same wave together.
Okay, good.
So you don't have to think about it too much from that perspective. I have thought a lot about the weather, and the more I think about it, the more my mind gets wrapped in pretzels.
Yeah. It's tough when you look at it. We'll probably get to that anyway, but just in general, I think for that one, it might be a way to get to Tom Hoagie. Someone asks me this all the time, like, oh, is it just a showdown play, or in this case is an underdog rival play or pick 'em play that you want to get after?
50-1 to bet him to win is the bet of the week.
Yeah, that's what you want. Yeah, but if people are saying, like, that's the thing. If you get the action this way, it doesn't really fully make up for it. If he has a good round 1 and then goes on to win, so this is like you doubling down on it, I'd be fine with the Hoagie side.
So there's that one. So you can get Hoagie versus Kim. You can also get Keegan Bradley versus Tom Kim. And I like Keegan Bradley this week as well. It's just Tom Kim was one of the guys that I wanted to pick on.
I don't necessarily like picking on him. I'm picking the side with you and agreeing on it. But the main thing is what you said in a 1-round rival. It's going to be that if it's that Tom Kim spike round in round 1 instead of round 2, or if he makes the cut round 4 like we always see or something like that, I could see that you running into issues there if you're picking on him that way because it's just 1 round.
The other one that I wanted to go to, I know that he's a former winner here, and I know that he's coming off a fantastic week. And it's funny because one of Raza's best bets for the PGA Championship was Justin Rose to miss the cut. And of course, Justin Rose shows up
Crushes.
and shows out. But that was his first good performance in 5 months that I have a feeling he might just revert back to being Justin Rose again. I like Brian Harman enough. Brian Harman had a very good week at the PGA Championship as well. This is a primo Brian Harman type course. That Brian Harman over Justin Rose, round 1.
That's my favorite of all the ones you mentioned. The other 2 are just by product of like Homa should be better than Straka. Yes. Tom Hoagie versus Tom Kim. You think Tom Hoagie's winning? May as well double down. I like the third one the best of all that you said.
Yeah, because I was looking at Siwoo versus Rose as well, but I just were like, it came to fruition last week. He finally missed the cut.
Yeah, I know.
But just like he's putting so poorly that there's very limited upside for a really low round from him right now.
Yeah, really annoying. I don't know if you watched how it ended. Like he was like 4 under through 11, and then just went. I think it was double bogey, bogey, double bogey to end up missing the cut by making pars the remaining way or something. But it was very bad. After I checked in after like 11 holes, I'm not too bad.
Mayo's looking like an idiot.
No, I mean even me, I was just like happy to get him through. I have action on him, so I was thinking this is good, and then definitely not so good after that. And that's the way things go. But I like the play that you have the other side with Harman before doing it with Siwoo. I just feel better about that consistency. Maybe a battle at the end because 2 of them can sometimes just play the same way, him and Rose. But then I would rather have the Harman safety plus upside versus like the Siwoo explosive. Who knows?
Yeah, you might get the -9 round from Siwoo every now and then, but he's never really played well at this course. Although I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth because Hoagie has never played well at this course either. But we've seen Hoagie show up to courses where he's never played well so far this year and play well. So that's encouraging to see.
Yeah, and you like Hoagie, so you're just going to keep going with your guy. I have no problem with that, with conviction and just doubling down. Too many times people try and hedge each way, and then they realize that they actually have no way to win money or don't have good action on it.
So we can find some other like round 1 head-to-heads as well. We don't need to put in like the one I feel the worst about weirdly is Homa versus Straka, which probably is the biggest gap in terms of talent of any of these guys. But you got like Denny versus Minwoo. That's a real clash of styles.
Denny bounce back should be a real thing. He definitely disappointed some people last week.
You know what sucks? I avoided all of the very obvious landmines last week and still had a shitty week. Do you know why? There's one guy, Taylor Pendrith, screwed me.
I think I had a bunch of 5 or 6s like that, but
he chipped in to like save his round, and then he gets to the par 5 where he can go down the left and then take a shot at the green or basically lay up by going down the right. He needs to make the cut. He lays up going down the right. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, can't do that.
Stupid. Like I like Keegan. I wanted to figure out some way to get Keegan, but he's matched up with Horschel, who I kind of like as well.
I was just that's the guy that I had on my list, and if you go to even higher lowers, there's a Billy Horschel 3 birdies or better higher for round 1
Oh,
that I
really?
also like as well. So
Okay, well, let's
most guys are 3.5 or in that case more, and I kind of like him at 3. So just a note on that one.
So let's see. Billy Horschel, 3 birdies or better. It's slightly worse than even.
Yeah.
It's 0.9x. So if we do that and we throw him on and we take off the Straka one.
That's one way too I love about this setup, where you can actually get action in a different way. If you don't feel good about who the matchups like for the rivals are, you can just go over to the higher lower and get them there.
I mean, we can just go, if we play all these 4, it's 9x, or we can take off the Homo one.
Is it going to be the Homo one, or is it going to be the Tom Hoagie one?
Well, I'm keeping Hoagie on. We can find a different rival for Hoagie in a head-to-head. The problem is he's matched up with all guys I like except for Tom Kim.
Yeah, it's Tom Kim, Horschel, and Bradley, so it's hard. It's just Tom Kim. I would stick with the Tom Kim one. Leave it there.
They're really like projecting Straka for a lot of points this week because they have Straka matched up with Homa and Finau. That worries me that he's paired up against guys that are theoretically better than he
Underdog is very comfortable with their Sepp Straka position, obviously, because most people are going to take the opposite side of that, especially just looking at projections, ownerships, and other angles of attack. I just think people are going to be on the opposite side. People do love Straka this week, but it's more so as like a value play on DraftKings or something later.
I can see that.
Which not really value. He's
You're gonna say,
average.
is
He's
he-
average
is he
price.
that
but
big a
well,
value?
He's 8,300. So he's average price. I'm just saying more of a way to make stuff work up top. And I think when people see that type of discrepancy, that's where they'd be more likely to be on the Homa or Finau side on Underdog in rivals, because they're going to just take the guy that's worth way more, they think, on paper, and the odds are better as well in the betting.
So the other way we could do this, Fowler versus Scott. Any lean there?
Not really. I looked at that one, though. I did think about it. Man, Scott's another one. Is this going to be a bounce back or not? And then Fowler, like, what have we really seen that much lately? He's okay, though.
Do you want to do Denny versus Minwoo? Take Denny?
I just like Denny for the bounce back. Man, yeah, I would take Denny over Minwoo, yeah.
Do you like Denny over Minwoo or Max over Straka? I'm starting to get freaked about Straka now. Because I haven't bet him, and whenever I don't bet Straka, he plays great.
I would take Denny over Minwoo.
All right, let's do that. So that'll be our 3. So it pays 6x. So we got Hoagie over Tom Kim, round 1. Brian Harmon over Justin Rose, round 1. Denny over Minwoo. That will be the official threesome of the Pat Mayo experience on Underdog for round 1. At Colonial, we'll go 150. 150 pays, let's increase that. 177 pays, let's see, 200. 200 pays 1,200. We win $1,000 if we win.
All right.
Confirm. So I'll throw that into the show notes, and we can go on our way in terms of Underdog. Let's talk about the weather a little bit, because you had made mention of it, and it does seem like the wind in the afternoon right now, on Thursday at least, is going to be a bit more detrimental than the morning, although it's not like it's unwindy in the morning, if that's even a real word. But we're looking at constant 13 to 15 for the morning wave with gusts up to 25. In the afternoon, it's going to be 17 to 22 with gusts up to 32. It's just windy all day. And it's Texas, like you said, so it could go to nothing for pockets of time, but no idea when that's going to happen. And then to look at Friday in the morning, 15, 16, gusts up to 35. In the afternoon, 15, 14, 9, gusts up to 18. So I would say, based on what it looks like now, AM, PM has a slight advantage. However, I think it would be one of the weeks where you most definitely just want to have a pocket in the morning, have a pocket in the afternoon, play it both sides, and hope it works out well. But I would lean AM, PM.
In Texas, always a good idea, because everything you're seeing right now can shift. To your point of everything you just said, to recap it quickly, is that there is also suspected to be a little bit of rain overnight. And the other thing about Texas is the temps are typically pretty similar in the morning and afternoon. It's not like you're going to get like a 55 Fahrenheit in the morning and a 75 in the afternoon. You're seeing that right here. It's like 73 or 80. It's not going to be a big difference in that. So it looks like Thursday AM is just as quote unquote bad as Thursday PM. It's not really as bad though. When you go to Friday, it's what you said. Friday morning does look like heavier sustained winds, heavier gusts, and then the afternoon cools off, heats up a little bit, as well as the winds cool off a little bit. So I would lean a little AM, PM, but all this can shift on a dime. So in Texas, always a good idea to cover both angles, both sides.
Yeah, there's nothing preventing all of this just moving up 7 hours. So these huge winds are overnight. Then all of a sudden the morning wave gets the best of it.
I think people need to know that, though. I think people, they'll just say stack both sides. That gets brought up a lot. They'll just look at it and say that we're recording it on Wednesday when it doesn't start till Thursday. Like, there's almost 24 hours till this tournament starts. So We're just saying what we see right now and explaining how you can apply that to your DFS play or whatever you're doing, your betting, your first round leader, all that stuff. Stay up to date and figure it out leading up to lock.
Bets for the week. Did you get in on anyone?
I did, but I'd have to look it up to remember who it was. Usually it's just random stuff throughout the week. Who are you highest on right now?
So I didn't really change anything that I did. I did bet Thomas Peters along with Jeff for the Belgium event that's going on. He texted me very early on Monday to get a number for him. 27-1 on Thomas Peters. I think that number has crumbled a lot since. I didn't realize the live guys could still play on the DP World Tour, but apparently they can.
Oh, yeah, they're doing stuff over there, too, winning tournaments and everything. I did get that Peters one with you, though.
There we go. So we got that one.
I got that one.
And then the rest of it, I kind of explained my methodology around what I wanted to do this week. And I'll have more of this in the newsletter tonight, completely free to join down in the description. Please go do that. Help us out. And I'll have the link to the Pick'Em play as well in there, if in case you miss it in the show notes. But older, accurate, relatively good putters. There's a few guys that I went off the rails with a little bit. Like I have Lucas Glover on the card. Obviously, he cannot putt, but plays very well in the wind, a very accurate player, very good tee to green.
Older.
And I'm not betting Scottie, so...
Scottie's done anyway. Didn't you hear that after last week? He's done now.
Oh.
Yeah, he got jail. He's going to prison. He's got, the baby. Clearly, this without Ted Scott, he couldn't do it on Saturday. It was just all, now people are off Scottie, right?
All he needed was for Cuss to declare the tournament over for Scottie, and then he shoots
Cuss.
his first round over par for the entire year.
We did talk about the caddy thing, though.
We did.
And then it turned out that it was his worst round, and then came right back with Ted Scott on Sunday and just crushes. So maybe it is Ted Scott.
So Harris English is the big one that number has dropped. I bet him at 55-1 on Monday morning. He's down to 30-1 right now. I guess he is probably the most popular bet of the week.
A lot of love for Harris this week.
I don't think that I would bet him at 28-1.
No.
But
I don't have interest in it. I would play him on DraftKings at 9K at chalk before I would bet 28-1 and just see if he can sneak through and do something. But even then, we're probably going to talk about some pivots off of him as well. So, yeah, I have no interest in that one at all.
So Harmon and English, along with Hoagie and Bez, were sort of my big four this week. And then I dropped down a little bit. I took Keegan. I kind of got, I don't want to say strong-armed into Keegan, but when I was talking with Vincenzi on the Best Bet show, it was just like 65-70-1.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't he 30-1 in this field? It seems strange to me. Like, he seems like a better player than the odds board would have him at.
Thought he was going to get into the mix a little bit there last week too. It didn't
tried.
work out. He tried real hard, but it just didn't happen.
Couldn't putt. So he and Glover are my team no putt guys.
And he counts as older, even though he's not. Like it's
Hell,
funny.
well, Keegan must be.
What is he? 34. I'm gonna guess.
I was gonna say he's probably pushing 40.
Okay, maybe.
He's 37.
Okay.
I like to call him an old guy, despite the fact that I am older than Keegan.
We're the same as the old version of this. Yes, I'm saying, but like that's my point. Is like he would definitely still fit it. Versus we got 23-year-olds out there and 24-year-old. Like this, Keegan's old compared to them.
And he's been around forever too.
Yes.
I mean, when you win your PGA Championship almost 15 years ago, you've been around the block.
What is his number at right now?
I don't know.
Why are you talking me into this one right now?
Well, he was 65 when I bet him. I believe he's down to 55 now, or 50 on an enhancement. So he's probably 45 in most markets. But maybe you can still catch a big one on him. And I bet Mark Hubbard 100-1 with 5 places. He's down to 70-1 now as well. Pretty good week for him. Probably didn't help that he played with Scottie on Saturday and Sunday.
That one hurt.
But if he's playing with Scottie this week, that probably means he's in the final group. So that's probably pretty good. Good number on DraftKings, too. I think he's $7,700.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there for sure. I think Keegan's down to 45, though. So, yeah, would have liked him more at the 65, 70 range.
I still think that's a pretty good number, though.
Fair.
Like to juxtapose it with someone like Harris English.
Oh, I agree. That's why I looked it up.
Keegan wins more.
That's why I pulled it up. I just, it's just then it's not as good as what it once was, and that's the way she goes. What was the other thing I was going to ask you?
I didn't have any like super bombs this week.
Oh, the Bez. What was the Bez number?
55.
Okay.
I think it still is 55.
Man, I don't know about him, but
it's a good Bez course if there ever was one.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't see too many. What's Horschel? I wonder.
I think he was right around the same range, that like 45 to 50 range. I like Horschel this week. I didn't like him as much as some of the other guys.
I think he's playing good right now. I think
he is. He had the most anonymous top 10 ever at a PGA Championship.
Certainly very quiet.
55.
I know it was a busy week, but yeah, that made it a little bit more quiet. But Horschel, 50. I don't know. I kind of like that Horschel Bradley range. What number did you say you got on Harmon?
Harman, I got 45.
Okay, nice.
You
That's
can get
nice
him at
too.
38 or 40 right now. Like there's this range in the middle here where and listen, it's not that these guys can't win. It just some of the odds seem really strange to me. Like Tom Kim has now fallen down into that range. We know he can win. He's just not playing great golf right now. He's at 55. Eckroat we've seen win. Rose is in that range. But then you have like Aaron Rye, Putnam, Mav McNeely. I just feel like those guys are worse.
They're all the popular guys this week in DFS. I know
sure,
that.
But like they should be like 80, 90 to 1, not 55 to 1. In my mind, at least. I mean, I get this wrong every week anyway, so maybe I'm dead wrong on this. But yeah, I'd be hard pressed, even though Dietrich never wins. I think I'd rather have Dietrich than Aaron Rye.
I think I saw Feinberg bet that.
Of course he did.
What about any longer, like any of these bombs down here? Novak 200.
No, I didn't.
Chan Kim.
For Chan. I mean, I think I'm just going to save these guys for DraftKings this week.
Probably better.
And I didn't really have any sort of particular lean towards any of them. I think Dylan Wu's playing a little bit better. I recall betting him at this site last year, and dude couldn't make a putt to save his life. Are you worried at all about these renovations? Michael Kim had a very good thread about it.
I looked at that.
He said not much really changed.
Yeah, some people seem to think it's like a much bigger edge, and maybe it is. I don't know. Like, I'm going to continue doing what I do. It's not my skill set or my strategy ever to go off of that, but typically, playing DFS, just going to go off of what we have here in front of us, which I think is going to be a pretty lazy week when we get to it. I think I know exactly where the ownership's going, which is helpful when you're going into this type of thing. So I'm hoping to have a big week because of that, but Scottie's definitely going to be up there, yeah.
Yeah, well, how do you feel about Scottie in terms of...
I still think he's fine. Yeah, like if people are gonna just fade him because he's 35%, no.
Oh, I wasn't thinking about fading him because of ownership. I'm just fading him listen, obviously I don't want to say he's not gonna win because he wins three of every 4 events.
Yeah,
but it does seem like one of these things now with Scottie where you can really leverage the fact that if he doesn't win, that you can really build some good teams by not using him.
Possibly, but because the 5K range has been introduced, and I've talked about this plenty in the past, the 6K range is phenomenal again. There's lots of ways to get different where you can skip those pockets in the 7K range. And also, he's surrounded by guys like Morikawa, Homa, Spieth, Finau, English. Like there's no chance. These guys don't win anything.
I don't have interest in those guys either, though.
Which is why when we go to DFS and talk about it, Scottie matters more because, again, continuously people seem to think that at that number he needs to win when it is literally not the case. It's not even close to the case. People, that's like level 1 of people's thinking out there. They just can't wrap their head around it. Is not the case at all. It's also what the other people around him do. We don't have certified killers and winners around Scottie in DFS. He's not priced correctly for the odds of, what is he, 3 to 1 or 2.5 to 1? Like, he's not priced right. And the 5K range opens up a stronger 6K range. Like, from a DFS perspective, there's merit to locking Scottie and just going with it. But it's, again, people just want to fade and do all these different things. And they have a all-in or fade button on Scottie. You can play 40% of them and be just fine. Like, there's lots of ways to handle it.
I'll play him in my weather correlated stacks, but I think that my main lineups this week that I'll enter in single entry will not have Scottie. Bite the bullet on that, just because I like the amount of balance that I can build by starting even below, starting with Hoagie or English or something like that. You can get 5 very good guys in your lineup, and I just don't feel all that comfortable, which is weird for me because I usually love the 5K guys and the 6K guys. I don't feel that this week.
I don't think you need to go anywhere near the 5Ks still. Will I? Yes, but I'm saying I don't think you have to make Scottie work. It's like there's lots of guys that people, I think you mentioned Wu, who you talked about. Not like these guys are going to be popular.
He's 61.
Yeah, I'm saying, but he makes things work. Yeah, you're right. So it's like him. If you want to go an old guy, you can go Matt Kuchar. People are definitely playing Svensson, Justin Lauer. I always mix that one up and people get after me for it, but that's a guy. I think people are even going to play old guy like Webb here. Brendan Todd, once you get to the low 7s.
Todd I like.
Yeah.
So, and that's right around just below what the average will be with Scottie. We'll build some Scottie lineups to kind of show that out. But
I don't hate what you're doing with the weather side of it. Not even weather, I should say wave stacking it and then wondering if the weather will go your way on it. That's fine too if you just want to use Scottie in some PME lineups. But in general, it's the range of Spieth, Homa, Finau, Lee, Kim. We like Harman a little bit. Sungjae, Hoagie, Scott. Maybe a couple of those guys fit in. There's just not too many. And you run into the situation where what if 5 or 6 of those guys are horrible and Scottie just does a top 10 here? It's what do the guys down below do? There's a high chance a lot of the guys that you'll find in the 6K and lower 7s will score as good or better than the guy in the mid 7K pocket, where we'll see again the ownership is just congregating in that 75 to 8K range.
One and done for the week. Not a great one and done week for me using. Actually, I didn't use the live guys last week. I faded the live guys, which was smart, unless you took Bryson. I just had the wrong guys. I had like Wyndham Clark and Scottie Scheffler.
Dad switched to Bryson. He was happy about that one.
That
One went his
out.
way. I went with the headline brain, whatever you want to call it, just to get after it. Victory at Valhalla with Victor Hovland.
That worked out well.
Worked out well, but it's almost there. I bet that too because it's just if it hit, I wanted to be on it. And I really thought he was going to do it and then just destroyed everything and even lost me more in round 4 showdown when he lost the bogey-free bonus on the last hole for like a 2-foot putt.
Oh, he missed that?
He missed the shorty, yeah.
I didn't realize that.
He missed the main one, which we're like, I could feel that coming the minute Bryson makes it. I'm like, Hovland's done. And then he missed the short one too, which also cost the bogey-free round.
So I'll go with Hoagie in my main, where I just have fallen outside of the top 500. I cracked the top 1,000 in my other one the week before with Xander when he came in second. Now I had Rory. Rory ended up winning. I had Xander in the other one. And then did not have a good PGA championship. But obviously, I don't want to burn someone very good this week in one and done. I think Hoagie is sort of like the perfect type of guy.
Hey, yeah, get your action that way. You're getting action
Oh,
on
yeah,
Hoagie
I'm
across the
highly
board.
leveraged on Tom Hoagie this
Yeah.
week. I might lock button him on DraftKings too.
Nice.
Just to go with it.
Yeah.
But for the second team, what do you think is I have Scottie available. Obviously, I'm not going to use Scottie in this tournament. It's not worth enough money. Then you got like Homa, Harmon, Keegan, Straka, Spieth. It might be an interesting Spieth week.
Yeah, and he can't be that owned.
No, he's already been used in
available.
He's available in 56% of teams, so right around just over 2,000 in one and done. I don't think he's going to be popular. His odds have even kind of crumbled.
What about I don't hate it. What about Finau beating up on easier fields? Even though there is the Scottie effect here, if you don't think Scottie and you're not wanting to burn him in something like one and done anyway, would you take Finau against the rest of this field to get after it that way?
That's interesting because I have a feeling Finau will probably play 3M and Rocket Mortgage.
Right.
He might not, but he might.
Probably at least one.
And he's won both of those events. So that might be a decent time to end up using him. He's actually been burned in 48% of leagues already. Probably everyone used him in Mexico.
Yeah.
And didn't get any money out of him. So maybe Finau is actually a pretty good choice this week.
If going, slightly off the board, that's where I'm thinking. Obviously, that's not very off the board when you have other guys down below. Like even, I don't know how popular Hoagie will be, but
I think all those guys will be like Harmon will be relatively popular. Harris English will be popular.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
you kind of just want to get it right and see what you can do here. But I don't know. I don't hate like the talks from earlier. If you went with like a Keegan, a Horschel, a Denny, something like that, where
I'll use Keegan.
I could actually see them pulling it off, and that would be another way to get access to them if you don't love the number.
Yeah, I don't see any one player like I think I didn't, and I would use Brooks in the 3-man, but didn't use it in this because I figured he would be popular. I think he was like 23% owned last week, which makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, like the live guys at majors are just going to draw way more ownership because it's the only time that you can use them. They're all 100% available unless you've used them up. That this time around, just use guys that I just don't see where I'm going to use Keegan or Hoagie the rest of the year.
Right. And on a major, that's about to happen. So at least you can get a better prediction on one and done ownership because that Bryson, Brooks, Neiman, etc., Cam Smith, any of those guys are going to be popular. A week like this, I think people really just need to focus on who they think is going to be the winner outside of using the top guys if they're saving a Scottie or something. I get that. But down below, no one can sit here and tell you between Harmon, Keegan, Putnam, Denny, Hoagie, all these guys, you just take your guy. None of them are going to be extremely popular, and you're just trying to use someone that you think can battle through and get the job done, and maybe you get lucky and they win.
And if you don't get a top 3 in a tournament like this,
not the worst.
A miscut in a top 10 are like no different.
Yeah, which is a good angle too. Look at those odds, right? And these guys all have pretty good make the cut odds, pretty good T20 odds. And yeah, you're gambling and taking a shot on those guys, but that's kind of the range I would pepper as well. I like that call. I don't know who I have yet. I think I started with Denny was like my gut for a bounce back. And then I don't know if I left it. I saw he's like 45-1 in the betting markets, but I may swap it out still.
Let's move to DraftKings. You put your prediction on Scottie at around 35%.
That's where I'm thinking, yeah.
So I'm looking at Fantasy National right now, fantasynational.com/Mayo. Get yourself 20% off and get yourself that nice leaderboard app along with all of the tools. It's funny because I'm seeing the calculated ownership at 22%, but the actual generated lineup at 45%.
Yeah.
So it's just
35
middle back.
seems about right. Yeah.
I can see 40% for Scottie and like the 25 and the
38. Yeah. Like I'm seeing somewhere up that range too. Yeah. It's definitely possible. Like I said, it's so easy to do. You have $7,300 left like usual. He got like this one doesn't make any sense. That's why I'm not going to rant on it, but just quickly. Like he's the same price basically as last week. What was he? 13.2. Now he's 13.3. He's a bigger favorite, right? 2.5 versus 4. I get that, or 2.75, whatever you're looking at. But in general, the field got way worse.
Yeah.
It's got way worse. It's fine for him to get around this course, and they still included the 5K range and so on and so on and so forth. It's the wrong, it doesn't add up. It's just they're not going to put him at 14.5, and so deal with it. But that really is how it should work.
So how do you feel about, who do you think the most common guys to be paired up with Scottie are going to be?
Let me tell you.
All right, hit me with it.
It is going to be guys like Eckroat, Putnam,
Gim?
Harris English, maybe some Gim, some Gim,
So
possibly.
what I'm seeing from down below, and I don't know if this is going to necessarily translate 1v1, but Justin Lauer does seem very popular versus everyone else kind of in that range. Like Novak, the next step down, but I could see Lauer pushing 8 to 12. He seems to be the guy that everyone is coalescing around.
So it'll actually be Svensson at the exact same price.
You think so?
Definitely.
How come?
Just know how the ownership game works.
All right, so Scheffler, Svensson,
Yep.
and then we're thinking about like Eckroat because he does seem pretty popular. Glover seems pretty popular as well.
You put them both in.
So
I agree with both those ones.
So they're both at 75. So now we have 76.50 for our final two spots. And just looking around that range.
Do you have Svensson, Glover, Eckroat with Scottie?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And so what are we looking at? Like 7,300 a pop?
Well, no, we're back up to 76.50. Scheffler, Svensson, Eckroat, Glover.
I'm an idiot.
You clicked someone wrong name in there?
No, I had showdown slates open.
So
Go ahead.
what we're seeing, I think, is Aaron Rye at 78 is going to be quite popular.
Yep, I can see that.
So if we throw him in now, we have $7,500 again. That leaves, no one is using Bo Hostler. That's like the pivot of the week right there. Not that I love Bo Hostler, but he's coming in like 3% owned versus because he's sandwiched between some pretty popular players. And you mentioned Putnam. It's probably Putnam.
It's Putnam. Yeah, I just had to go look it up. Yeah, it's definitely Putnam. So this is an extremely popular lineup. Let me see.
And if you 1v1 Svensson with Lauer, I think that's going to be pretty popular as well.
Yeah,
exactly the same price.
The thing is, I think this is a good lineup. It's just not going to be great for like large field tournaments and stuff because it's too strong and everyone's going to have it. So I get that, but this lineup definitely looks fine. If you compared this to like betting odds and things like that, this is really going to pop as well for made cut equity. You got the win equity in there with Scottie. You've got all of it. It's just someone's going to screw you probably. So it's a 5 or 6 most likely, or maybe worse. So we'll see. But I definitely think this is a strong lineup on paper.
All right, so how do we make that lineup a little bit different and try to keep it for larger field tournaments? How do we keep this equally as strong, do you think?
Do you want to keep it with Scottie strong, or do you want to keep it say we can move off Scottie and pick up some extra pieces there to make it a little bit better?
No, I think we rebuild if we're going to not use Scottie. So let's keep Scottie in this one. Who are guys from down low? Like I mentioned Dylan Wu. Is he someone that you would consider?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like him. Who do you want to put him in for?
All right, well, let's just take Svensson down to Wu. And now we have opened up, we have $400 extra to play with. Now, I would be in the mind of moving either Rye down to someone in the high 6s or Eckroat, Glover, Putnam to someone down in the high 6s and then getting back up into the 8s. That's what I would prefer to do.
Yeah, because I'm not really loving a lot else there, and you're staying on such a similar build. So maybe if we take Rye down, who's the other guy that you like down there?
Todd or Lee Hodges?
Hodges is probably way more popular, so I don't hate your Todd call. Let's try and pick him up. Actually, I think Todd will still be popular too, but just who do you like more of the two? Because if I'm looking at it right now, my first thoughts are Todd sub 10, like just there, but then I see Hodges. I have him more. I just got to find him. How much is his price again? 72?
Yeah, Hodges is 72. I like Todd better than Hodges.
They're pretty close, and yeah, so it's just whoever you like better, and in this case, you like Todd. So
what if we just put them both in?
Let's do that. Why not both?
So we'll take Putnam down to Hodges.
Yeah.
So now we have Eckroat and Glover in the middle, and we have $1,400 to play with. So we could theoretically keep one of those guys and get up to Bezadenhout if we wanted to.
Man, Glover or Bezadenhout, or do you want? Yeah,
Or you go Eckroat into Bezadenhout.
I feel like in this case, just my mind, the way it thinks is like you feel pretty good about Scottie. You know you're taking a little bit of a risk on Woo. Glover and Bez, kind of the same guy at a different price.
I'd say that I wouldn't agree with that.
I think they're very similar. Like Glover actually wins and has won. I know it's over now, people say, but it's like it's a guy that definitely shows up in that sense. If you like him for this week, though, I'm saying, do you want more risk taking Glover up to Bez, or do you want and leaving Eckroat and Woo both in there? Eckroat obviously just won, I get it, but he obviously feels in this lineup when you already have Glover, Todd, Scheffler, Hodges very safe. You could take on more risk that way, or you could just swap it the other way and say, I want to add more safety because Bez, Glover, Todd, Scheffler, Hodges feel pretty safe, and then it's like, Woo, just do anything. So that's how I would think about it if I was hand building it.
Or if you have Eckroat and Glover with this $1,400, you could theoretically turn both those guys into Keegan and Dietrich if you wanted to. Straka and Bhatia.
Keegan, Dietrich.
Like you can get to the low 8s with both those guys.
So that would be like, again, just playing on back what we said. We don't talk about this all the time, but just that's where I'm looking at it. For large field tournament where you really want to up the randomness and the risk there, I think Keegan, Dietrich, Woo, all these guys. Hodges is another cheap guy, but he's in there. You feel safer. I'm just saying that's where you can take on more of that risk. I feel like in something like a higher dollar, smaller field, I'd be fine just swapping one of Eckroat and Glover
up to the higher
to Bez and just saying, we're good. We need a couple things to go our way, but the others feel pretty good. And we still have a much different roster construction than what we previously started at, probably at a similar projection. Like you want to switch Eckroat or Glover just for the example quickly?
Eckroat. Keep Glover.
Okay, we'll keep Glover.
But it doesn't need to be Bez. It could be Horschel.
It can also be Horschel.
It could be Denny, Keith Mitchell, who I assume no one is playing this week.
Right.
Not that I have interest in playing him either, but just...
So this lineup going to bed, it's now you have a 13K, a high 8K, only 3 7s, not 4, and Woo, who's way off the board, only projects like 5 points less than the first one, which in golf doesn't matter at all. It's an extra birdie, a streak, whatever it might be. So it's like, this is perfect, and it's still a really good lineup. If we take out Bez and Glover, to your original point...
And we go with Keegan, and then we could afford Straka if we wanted to. It's Straka, Tom Kim, Dietrich, Bhatia, Taylor Moore, Aaron Rye, that range of player.
So if you just do Straka for what we think others might do, that's still off the board, this is still really unique. You have a 13, 2 8Ks, 2 low 7Ks, so you skip that bubble of the upper 7s and moved it to Keegan and Straka. They'll have some ownership, but it doesn't matter. It's like you're comparing, whatever there, and some of those 7K guys will have even more. And then you still have Woo in there. This only projects 3 points off the original build, and it's a way different construction.
I think I like this one better.
See, same. I do too.
But it's not Straka I like. I'll probably end up using Straka a little bit. I'll use Dietrich in there with him instead. Leave 300 on the table.
It's almost the same. That's fine.
Or you can upgrade if you really wanted to somewhere else. You can get back up to Svensson instead of Woo.
Yeah, could do that. Go back. That'd be the more popular version of it, but I think that's right. Yeah, and that will project very similar to the original, but now you've got only 2 7K guys, 2 8Ks, and you can get away with your 6K guy being Svensson because Dietrich, all these other guys mixed together, Keegan, 8Ks, Todd, low 7s. Yeah, you're really skipping the majority of what we had in the first build.
Is there a way where you want to jam Scottie in with someone else from, not necessarily the top, I'm not talking about Morikawa, Spieth, Homer, Finau, but we got pretty close by getting Bez in. Like, could we turn Keegan Bradley, let's say, into Brian Harmon, and then figure it out back the other way? We take out, I don't know.
I do think there's going to be Scottie English lineups.
Okay, let's try that. Yeah,
for example.
Scottie English makes a lot of sense. So we got
I think you have to take Dietrich and Bradley out.
You take them both out, so Keegan turns into English, and Dietrich turns into Putnam, probably. Yeah, that's exactly enough money.
Is that with Woo in there still?
Yeah.
Okay, let me do that. That's what I was wondering. I went back to Svensson for a second. So Woo, and it's Putnam.
Yeah.
And I think this is probably fine too. Yeah, also projects pretty good. And this has, so you're skipping the 5s and the 8s and the 10s, the 11s, etc. But you've got Scottie, a 9K guy, and then 3 7s with only really Putnam falling into that pocket of the popular 7K range, because Todd and Hodges will have love down below too. But just a note, the lower 7Ks in general will be not as common in roster construction.
The other ones to look at right now, Chan Kim kind of pops for me, as he kind of does all the time. I'm just looking at my numbers. So of the $6,000 range, I'm seeing S.H. Kim, Nate Lashley, Justin Lauer, Matty Schmidt, Chan Kim, Joseph Bramlett, good Lord, and Ben Martin at $5,900. Your boy Mark Messier is down there too.
He's in the mix this week.
Get him some fucking Lay's chips, he'll be fine. You know he's
Bet
on.
you can't eat just one.
It's funny that I was talking about this with Paul before the show about, Wayne Gretzky's on the TNT panel for hockey in the United States.
I did not know that.
And Mark Messier is on the ESPN panel in the United States.
I didn't know that. No.
I only noticed this because Gabe Morency was tweeting about it.
Yeah.
Not that I'm watching hockey, but I can't imagine either of those two guys are good on TV.
I'd have to see. It's just an odd setup, but like we're going to see Tom Brady soon for football. People started with
Paul made mentions that, and I agree with him. I guarantee you Tom Brady's going to be good.
I think so.
Good at everything.
It's just the way it is. But Belichick, when he opened up, was pretty good.
Belichick has always been good on TV. Like when you watch him in those like NFL 100s, like when you get him talking about football,
best.
he's fucking great. I don't know if he'd be a good play-by-play guy,
right?
But he would be an awesome Manning cast type guy, I think.
For sure.
Like you wouldn't want him on a studio show beforehand because people can only talk in 20-second increments and give like one take and look at the camera. I don't think that's exactly what you would want Belichick for, but if you had him in a long form style thing with active football going on.
Did you ever watch the one with Ed Reed when he talks about him as a safety and how he pegged it and all this stuff? Like, man, it's just incredible. If you haven't seen it, look up Bill Belichick, Ed Reed. But back to golf on it for a second. Do you think lefty, as everyone wanted him in the box and all that, obviously he's got money to make and gamble and do all these different things with, but what do you think? Do you think he's better as a guest, just showing up and chatterboxing it up like we've seen him? Or do you actually think he would be good if he was full-time? Because then it's a lot of lefty you'd be getting.
Well, it's weird because the golf setup has been the same for so long in terms of how the broadcast structure works. You have your straight guy, the play-by-play guy, and then you have your former player who's the analyst, and then you have like 8 other people that you cut to hole by hole. You throw to Dottie Pepper, or you throw to Colt Knost, or whoever it is. I actually think a more consistent booth where you stay with the main coverage more often, but it's a 3-man booth. And that's what Phil was really good at when he'd finish his round and come in for the U.S. Open, that you'd have Faldo and Nance, and then Phil would just kind of like hop in. He's kind of like a heat check guy.
I love that call. That's what I would be looking for too, because it's a setup of, that's the problem. If it's just Phil, it's like he is the ex-player or the current player, if you will, with all that talk, but then he also wants to be like the host. It's like, buddy, like Nance is here. You don't need to do that. So it's like, that's why I always wonder, because people say that. Remember Romo? People loved him out of the gates and then obviously turned on him quite quickly. I don't think that'll be the case with Brady. I think it'll be what you originally said, where he's just good, and we just get Brady on there and everyone loves it.
Yeah, what is Brady bad at? Like, he will make himself be good at this. I think there's the reason that he took the year off. I think it was to try to figure out how to do this. Like, I would be shocked if he showed up and he was like, he was Jason Witten.
Yeah, we could go on rants because you love this stuff. I love this stuff. Do you think he hired people to come out to his house and work with him?
Yes, absolutely.
Just separately?
I'm sure Fox hired people to go work with him over the course of the past year.
So I was trying to think of like his daily routine. He wakes up and has his meal and then goes and says whatever to his kids and everything, and then goes in here and working with the Fox guys, getting ready for next season to do broadcasting, which is awesome for him.
Was there anyone in the 5s that you like? I assume Ryan Moore pops for everyone. But I just don't think he makes enough putts. Like, if you're going to give me a guy down here, yes. Like, because Raza talks about this. Like, when you get down into this range, can you point to one skill set that someone does really well? Because that's all you're really looking for down here. Like, if they were actually any better, they would be $9,000.
Sure.
Like, they're not. So do they possess one skill that you really need? And Ryan Moore can, because it's his approach play. It's his fairway finding off the tee. It's his approach play. But it just doesn't feel like he can take advantage of that enough, which is a problem. I would try to find someone. Like, I actually don't mind trying to target really good putters down here, because I feel like they have the outlier weeks more often than the guy who are like, quote unquote, good ball strikers. Not like great ball strikers. They're good ball strikers. Good on approach. They don't really have much else of a game, because sometimes you just can't capitalize on that.
Yeah, I don't hate that approach. This is also tough because this is not, I mean, for as wide of a range as we have here, what did they give us this week? 50? Yeah, 49 guys. Down here, there's only 2 or 3, and it's honestly based on more of like models, something like Fantasy National or top 20 odds or something like that, where you're seeing that they're actually popping a little more than those around them. And I think it is guys like right at 6K. I know I'm cheating, but like Carson Young, Sam Ryder will pop a little. Mac, Zach Johnson, Ryan Moore, Ben Coles.
Ben Coles, I think, is the answer to this. Like, he's actually playing good golf right now.
Yeah.
Like, he should have won a tournament.
He's the answer to who's going to be any type of ownership, but it's not enough to care about anyway. But he's also the guy that people are caught on to because he definitely pops in the projection.
Sure, but I think that Zach Johnson and Ryan Moore I think Ryan Moore might end up being higher on the Ben Coles.
I don't, but I also don't think Coles is owned enough to care. So I'm still with you on that. I do think the Zach Johnson one could be interesting just because old guy style of course, whatever, but not something I'm crazy about.
I mean, if you really if you're only doing that to save money, to use Zach Johnson, I can't imagine any other reason why you'd want to play Zach Johnson. Like,
right.
you think theoretical skill set, it fits perfect. He can make some putts that you might as well just cheap out and take Chez Reavie, who's almost exactly the same player, just makes fewer putts.
Yeah, or just find the money, because I just think if you get into that 6K range, you're fine anyway, and we just saw it. You only needed one 6K guy to still get to a really good Scottie. Now imagine when you want to move off Scottie and go to some of these other guys up there, it's not going to be anywhere near this range that you need to go. But if it makes something work for you, I'm not going to fault you for it.
Crazy Carl is another one who's down here.
How much is he?
He is $5,400. He's not been playing well. The approach play has kind of gotten away from him, but we've seen him with pretty good approach play. And just whenever I think about Carl Juan in my mind, I want him at shorter courses. Like, even when you look at where he's popped so far this year. Was it at Mexico? No. Was it at Torrey Pines? No. He came 4th at Sony. He came 4th in Bermuda. He came 5th at Valspar. So at least there's upside with him. Like, he has top 5 finishes. He has 3 top 5 finishes this year. He has a ton of missed cuts, which is probably why he's $5,400. But it just seems like there's a direct correlation. He gets these long courses, he sucks. But at these shorter courses, a whole lot better.
Sounds like you do think about Carl Juan on your mind a lot. So you know quite a bit about Crazy Carl. And if that's your guy, it's what we always talk about. I would definitely put him in there based on that. Like, that's something, an angle of attack that you have that you're rolling with. Everyone has their guys down here, though. So I think it's going to be just pick your poison if you need to go. What type of build, I guess this is how I'd flip it, do you think you would use him in? Like, you're not as high on Scottie, so you're just wanting to pepper like 4 9K guys or something?
Yes. So I like Coles better than I like Carl Juan.
We can use Coles because
so let's use Coles. Let's start a lineup with Coles.
Get your guy Hoagie in there.
So it'd be like let's go with Hoagie. Hoagie is our most expensive guy.
Okay.
Hoagie, English, Bez. And we could probably do Harmon. We're $100 short.
You might be able to go to your Harmon play.
I was going to go Harmon Hubbard, but that doesn't work out. You could go Horschel Keegan.
Horschel Keegan?
Yeah.
Instead of Harmon?
And you have $200 on the table, but
it's
Coles who I like, so I don't care.
Yeah.
So it's Hoagie, English, Bez, Horschel, Bradley, Ben Coles. This is the type of lineup that I like this week.
Yeah. And so 3 9, what is this? 2 9K, 3 8Ks, and a 5. It's going to be extremely unique.
But it's not even that I was looking to try to be unique with my lineup. It's just I like those 5 guys. How can I make those 5 guys work? And if you use Scottie, max you can get 2 of them. Max. And that's if you sacrifice the other part of your lineup where you're down in the Ben Coles range anyway. That this way that instead of having Brendan Todd and, who was the other guy? Lee Hodges, those 2 guys turn into Harris English and Billy Horschel. Just you lose Scottie, which obviously is a huge opportunity cost.
So one swap that I would make is I like the Horschel pivot over using English. Okay. So if you take out English and make him Harmon, you can now play Rye or Hubbard, which is kind of another way to do it.
Instead of Bradley?
Yeah, you're having to make that swap. But I'm saying I like using Horschel as the pivot to English instead of using them both together. You can obviously get away with both. I just meant you originally had mentioned Mark Hubbard, who I also think is already kind of maybe a secondary guy actually when it comes down to it, because I actually think Mav could get some ownership there as well. So they both might be similar, but you get what I'm saying.
People love Mav. I fall victim. If his first name wasn't Maverick, I don't think anyone would ever play this guy.
Maybe. Or if his dad wasn't a billionaire.
Well, that helps.
People know that story as well. So I don't know. I just think that's, you're almost double pivoting here maybe if Hubbard does end up getting cut down a little bit because of how he didn't finish well at the PGA Championship after the hot start, and versus McNeely, people just love playing him to your point, and his odds and things like that. So I don't hate that build. It projects a little bit better. It's only about 11 off of the original one that we built.
Are you going to play Siwoo?
Probably. Back to the well, yeah.
Like, do you like Minwoo, Siwoo, Harmon, or Sungjae?
Siwoo, Harmon, Sungjae, Minwoo.
All right, so I'm going to go with Harmon of that bunch. I mean, I did bet Harmon. I don't know what to do with Sungjae. I don't know where he's at.
Yeah, I feel like he's still fine.
I'm sure that he is fine, but just it doesn't click for me at the moment with him.
I'm thinking like just blowing this build up for a second and just doing the same 9K build, but with like
Minwoo, Siwoo, Denny.
Well, I was like, I'm just thinking about Finau still. He's sub 10K.
Okay, well,
if we get the easy field type Finau spot.
Hey, and listen, he has a good history at this course, although it's a brand new course. Yeah. You had never seen anything like it before.
And then like Fried Egg did an awesome overview of what the changes were, and it's like 3 holes that they show a couple differences.
Yeah, I think number 8 is like the big one that got redone.
Yeah.
But that's no different than when we see courses all the time.
People get mad when you downplay any type of thing like this, so I'm not going to go too into I don't care, but it's like, yeah, it's not going to change enough for me. So
Well, it's funny because on the Best Bet show, I was talking to Vincenzi that we kind of came to not the realization, but just kind of said that the quiet part loud that like when we're coming up with these stats and people that we like for this week, generally speaking, I do it. I know he does it. I know Feinberg does it. We have the guys that we like irrationally, and then we come up for reasons of why we like them that week.
Sure.
Like that's how this works.
That's the whole point. That's like everyone talks about all the time. That's the exact setup of you're making. When people say, "Oh, like there's so many guys down there you could play," yeah, you could literally make up a story or a narrative for any of them. I know because sometimes that's what you end up doing. You're looking for angles of attack to come up with things, but in general, that's what you're doing. So Finau up top.
All right, so let's try this. Let's take Coles down to Carl Wan because that helps me out bigly here because that gives me Hubbard. So you can go Finau, Hoagie, Bez, Horschel, Hubbard with Carl Wan.
I just got to figure out Hoagie Bez and then where that lands me, and I'm guessing I'll be able to predict what you said because I didn't hear it, but it was Billy Horschel or Danny?
Billy.
Okay. You can afford both, but yeah, that's not that great for projection, so...
I don't care about that. I like this lineup.
Yeah, oh, for sure, and I think that's what you should do. This is definitely one to take on. It's not way off. It's just worse than what we were looking at before, so that's part of it. Crazy Carl, obviously a big part of that too, by the way. So Cole's projecting much better than Carl.
Another guy to consider, and it just kind of popped in my mind because I bet him to win at Myrtle Beach and he ended up coming in third, is Jorge Campillo. Playing better golf. 13 at Corrales, 24th at Byron Nelson, 3rd at Myrtle Beach. Doesn't make a ton of putts, but the tee to green has been really solid for him.
Campillo.
And he's someone who, I don't want to say he has win equity, but he's won 3-4 times on the DP World Tour. Like we forget about some of these guys that maybe it takes them a little bit of time to acclimate to playing. You see Matthew Pavon come over and have immediate success. That you forget about some of these guys who were better than him that also came over that, maybe playing full time on the DP World Tour for 8 years, then coming to America for the first time is kind of jarring.
Oh, for sure. I think he's actually played some good golf over the last couple of months at times. It's whether for 4 rounds, but in this lineup, and just a note, Pat, you can go Finau with Hoagie. Then you get to Horschel, Keegan Bradley, Hubbard, and Campillo.
Finau, Hoagie.
Yep, and then it goes Horschel at 88, Bradley at 81, Hubbard at 77.
Yeah.
And Campillo at 62.
I'm missing someone here. I'm missing Finau, Hoagie, Horschel, Hubbard, Campillo. Who was the other guy?
Bradley.
Oh, Keegan. Okay.
Yeah. Not bad. I'm just saying like that's another, just from an approach of Horschel versus Bez and English. It's Hubbard versus Mav. You already have Campillo as your guy that just needs to come through, and then you still get pretty solid setup there, and you're only using one 7K guy, which is in the bubble range of that pocket I talked about where it's popular, but when you're only doing it with one of those guys and not 2, 3, 4 of them, that's how you get away with it, not who you play, it's how you play them. You're using Mark Hubbard in a much different way, and he may even end up being a decent pivot if McNeely gets that much of a delta between him and the other, where if you don't need both.
So in terms of overall ownership, when we're taking a look at that this week, so Scheffler's soaking up everything at the top. I think that a lot of people, if they don't use Scottie, they're not going to start with Hoagie like I have been doing.
Right.
But I think that Morikawa is a very logical
Yep.
other first play. I don't like Morikawa this week.
If I land on him, or if in those wave builds, I'm actually good with it because it's like quite the separation. It's $3,300. He was actually contending in the PGA Championship last week. Scottie wasn't after Saturday. It's one round, one event. I'm not really going there with it. I'm just saying it's like this. Again, this is where the price gap to me doesn't make as much sense. Like it's 3,300. Scottie should be more. Morikawa right there at 11. But I'm with you. People are going to start with him though. To your point.
No, I'm no Spieth fan this week, but I think I'd take Spieth at half the ownership or a third of the ownership. No one's going to Spieth.
He's got to be 15 versus Scottie's 35.
Who?
Spieth.
I was going to say Spieth's going to be like 7-8%.
He could be sub that. I'm saying, but if it goes 35 up there, it obviously pushes it. If it's 35 to 40, yes, that pushes it even more down the board. I'm saying that's where I'm angling it from.
Yeah, and to sort of the 1v1, it wasn't versus, for me, it's not a decision between Spieth or Scottie. It's a decision between Spieth and Morikawa. If that was the way that you were going to go about it. Like if I was forced into not using Scottie and to start with one of those two guys, I would start with Spieth and not Morikawa.
And so to rebuttal that, I said that's where the delta comes in. I don't know what it's going to be, but it could be, I think it's going to be 10%, but I don't know if it's going to be like
lower.
12-22 or if it's going to be like 7-17. How does that actually shake out? It just feels pretty comfortable to your point that it'd probably be like a 10% difference between those two. You never know. Maybe people hop on, but I think Homa, Finau,
they'll be like
Harman, they'll
like
pick
15.
up some.
Yeah, they'll be like
they always
15,
get
18.
some. Yeah.
Because you can probably build a Homa, Finau, Harman lineup or two of those three pretty easily.
Yeah.
But looking at that, Spieth is going to come in with lower ownership than all of those guys, as will Siwoo, Minwoo, Sungjae, and Adam Scott. Seems to be very little interest in any of those guys. Ditto with Mitchell, Rose, and Kirk, and Tom Kim. Mm-hmm. Tom Kim might be the play of those guys because he's not only the cheapest, but I don't think he's that far away from those guys.
Yeah, an 8,200 is a little bit of a dip there, so we'll see if he actually gets any, but I don't see him getting more than 10%, if that.
No, neither do I.
So,
and in that specific range, Keegan's going to draw ownership. Straka, Dietrich, Bhatia. We didn't even mention Berger. Berger is starting to play a little bit better. He's won here before, and the skill set that you're looking for from what this course has always done, whether that remains, I don't know, but I'm going to kind of have to go off that. Putts well on bent, hits a ton of fairways, and the irons are starting to come back a little bit. Like Berger will most definitely be in my player pool.
Yeah, I think a good spot to take a shot on him too, just because it doesn't seem like it's going to be that crazy. I've seen more people talk about him than I see translate to ownership, if I can put it that way, right?
Like if it's a 1v1, like because you mentioned McNeely's going to pick up steam, Hubbard's somewhat popular, Rye is somewhat popular. You just have Berger right there, so he can't have ownership.
The Patty right in the middle,
and he might be the better one of all of these guys.
It's possible. That is for sure.
Yeah.
You're going to get boosted because of the betting odds and stuff when it comes to guys like Hubbard, McNeely, Rye, those ones. But even like Taylor Moore, Bhatia is right there too. Like there's no chance that Berger gets ownership, even if people are talking about him.
Do we like Bhatia?
It's hard, man. I always like him because he's boom bust and easier field, less than 8K. Like you can get away with a lot. Like 79, but if he busts, it's bad.
I like him in the wind.
Yeah. Hey. Bhatia, 7,900. This could be it.
I like so how do we do this? So we have a couple guys down here. So I mentioned Berger, Bhatia, and Dietrich. If we start a lineup with those three, what can we do with that?
One quick note on the Bhatia thing is also like I feel like Rye has to steal some of his thunder there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like Bhatia winning tournaments going I know I'm a sucker for Aaron Rye too, but it's like that to me is just an interesting one. Like the Hubbards, the McNeelys, those guys versus Bhatia is just 7,900. And I know he's getting some, but it's spread out enough once you get to that range that you can get away with it. So I was trying to round out this one other lineup.
So what about a lineup like this? And obviously this really lacks the upside that you're looking for because it doesn't have any of the big names. But you go Bhatia, Berger, Dietrich, Tom Kim with Hoagie and Horschel. Like the ultimate balance build.
I have to run it and see, but I was trying to get Dietrich into this one. So go ahead with it one more time. It was
Bhatia, Berger, Dietrich, Hoagie.
Dietrich, Berger,
Tom Kim, and Horschel. 1-9, 3-8s, 2 high 7s.
Yeah.
Like, this is a lineup that people would play at the Masters 4 years ago when the pricing was super soft.
So extremely unique the way it's set up. And then also it's your guy, Tom Hoagie, starting it off. It rounds out at Berger at 78 as your worst guy. Very balanced. So this definitely can play at this event. And it projects only, a little bit off from what we looked at earlier.
Oh, really?
From the main, it's 15 or so off. But
Because anything that doesn't have Scottie in it is going to project way worse.
for sure. So
He's worth 3 guys. In
yeah,
terms
and
of
some
projections.
of let's go down to real quick, but just the way projections do it, like on, who was that guy we looked at earlier? Svensson? Mm-hmm. He's still coming in like 5 to 6 under some of these 7K guys in this range.
And Scottie's 25 higher.
And Scottie's just way higher, yeah. So
Which makes sense. I get it.
yeah, so that's the setup early on at least. We'll have final projections tonight, but I think that's the way to look at it now is definitely like, who cares? You're off by 12, 15. You're in the ballpark. It's golf. You have a completely different roster construction. Your worst guy on paper is Daniel Berger. Maybe some would feel like Dietrich's more of a risk. I get it, but it's like all in all, you have a pretty good lineup there. There's just going to be risk involved. Tom Kim, Berger, Dietrich, Bhatia, all can be pretty boom bust, and that's Horschel and Hoagie, but I feel better about those guys.
Sure.
The Ho train.
They are a boom bust as well.
They are. That's the thing. Yeah, that's definitely the thing.
But everyone who's not Scheffler in this tournament is boom bust.
Any other hoes in this field? Man, we could make the Ho lineup. Holy, Lee Hodges, Max Homa, Tom Hoagie, Billy Horschel, Bo Hostler. You can get the...
I don't know if you can fit in that lineup. Is there anyone at 5,000 you can play if it's the Ho
let's do
lineup?
it. Hogard is even here.
Yeah, Højgaard's there.
Hogard, but it's with a Ho, so you could do that one. Billy Ho, you got to have Billy Ho in it.
Yeah, I don't see anyone from below. Higo might be the closest you're going to get to try to fill out this lineup.
Davis Holmson? No.
Thompson?
No, you can't do that one. But if you go... Oh, here we go. I got one. Play Charlie Hoffman in Texas. You got Hodges, Homa, Hoagie, Horschel, Hostler, Hoffman. The Ho train.
Winning. Ho train to first place.
Let's try it.
I've
Tried worse.
Put in Coles and Carl Juan with Scheffler.
Okay. Coles, Carl Juan. Coles.
So double 5K with Scheffler at 13.3 leaves you $8,500 left for your final spots.
All right. Got it.
So by doing this, if you commit to, I don't know if you want to commit to 2 5K guys. I mean, I don't care. This is the sort of lineup that I enjoy to play. But I just mentioned Berger. So you put in Berger, then you have 89. You can go Horschel, English if you wanted to. Or Bez and Horschel or whatever in that range.
Can you get to your guy Hoagie, though? You'd have to go with Eckroat or Glover again.
You don't have to. You can keep Berger and just drop down Horschel or English to one of the other guys.
So Horschel, Hoagie, Berger, and you'd land on Justin Rose.
Or you can play it kind of the same. Yeah, let's take Berger down to Glover for a second.
And then you get what you want.
I'll bump that up to Keegan, let's say. So you can go Scheffler, Finau, Keegan with Glover, Juan, and Ben Coles.
Finau, Keegan. Keegan's 81. And Glover, yeah, that one works.
How does that look?
Pretty good. About 9 off the original.
And I don't see that much of a difference between Coles and Svensson. Honestly.
Yeah, that's fine. And if that's the way, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're fine because Juan is still the guy you're taking the shot on here. And what is Finau Coles? I'm sure when you go to Svensson, I just want to see to give the 2v2 so people that are wondering, like, what would that look like?
I believe it's her. No.
Oh, it's Hoagie Svensson.
Hoagie Svensson or Coles.
Oh, wow. How do you feel about that, though?
I don't like Svensson is the thing.
Yeah, I guess that's the issue. Do you like...
I like Campillo enough. Campillo or Wu.
Okay, so let's go that one. This is your lineup here, Pat, now that we got to the end of it here. Campillo, Juan, Scheffler, Hoagie, Bradley, Glover. And if you want Glover to be Hubbard, it can be Hubbard over Glover, which you liked earlier.
So Finau into Hoagie.
Damn, this is your build right here.
And then Coles into...
I went with Juan Campillo as the 2 cheapies.
Juan Campillo. Yeah, you can get back up to Hubbard if you wanted to. At 77.
That's what you like right there.
I
Bradley,
do.
Hubbard, Hoagie, Scheffler. That's even with a Scheffler Hoagie lineup. Man, that's the one.
That's the winning lineup this week. Scheffler, Hoagie. Like I said, those are your two winners. You bet Tom Hoagie overall, and then you bet Scottie Scheffler in the non-Hoagie market. Get two winners.
And Scheffler can't be in the main lineup if he doesn't win, but he can when Hoagie wins.
Exactly.
And when he comes second to Hoagie. So there you go.
Let's get our head-to-head in. I defeated you last week.
Again. It never ends.
Well, you had a 4-6, and I had a 5-6, I think is...
Did at least something bad happen? Oh, yeah, I played Siwoo.
You did play CU. You had another guy who missed the cut, though. Pendrith missed the cut for me.
Somebody else missed the cut on the number for me in a couple lineups that pissed me off.
Who was the main culprit?
Man, I don't know who it was. I wanted to say Putnam, but no, I don't even think he was there. It was somebody else. I'm thinking of a different week. But last week...
It's usually Putnam on a week-to-week basis.
Last week, if I go here, would it still show? Yeah. Okay, what was the cut line again? It was...
-1 last week?
Fitzpatrick, I played a lot of him at 80. I think he was 8,700 last week, and he missed the cut on the number. That's who it was.
All right. Head-to-head, I draft first. Tom Hoagie.
All right, Scottie. And now that you made me think of that, all right, let me do this. Let me do this way. Scottie and I'm gonna go with my guy Glover. Get a value in there.
Okay. Well, I don't like that. I'll take Bez and Horschel.
I think I'm gonna take. Let's see how this looks. Nice. Hubbard and Putnam.
Hubbard and Putnam?
Yeah.
I'll take Keegan Bradley and Ben Coles.
And now let me just play all the chalk. Let me see if this fits. Oh, baby. Perfect. This might be the chalkiest lineup ever, actually.
Yeah, it's probably good for a head-to-head when I can't take any of your guys.
Yeah, I'm going to take Svensson and McNeely.
All right, and I'll take Harris English to round it out.
This is the chalkiest lineup of all time, but it's okay. So I got this one.
All right, what is it overall?
It was Scottie, Hubbard, Glover, Svensson, McNeely,
Putnam.
Yep, and you have
Hoagie, English, Bez, and Horschel with Keegan Bradley and Ben Coles.
wow. It's actually pretty nice.
It's a 5 next level mid-tier guys and Ben Coles.
Yeah, I played all the chalk, so I have you by 15. But man, your lineup is really setting up nice there. I think we built similar ones to this when we went through it all.
Yeah.
But this definitely looks nice, and it's 2 9Ks, 3 8s. Like it's all guys you could have in your betting card this week could look like this.
I mean, my betting card does look
maybe
like that.
minus Cole. I don't know if you're on Cole.
I don't have Coles in the outright.
But the other 5 guys, you could definitely just bet those guys, and that'd be your week for your card.
That's basically what I did.
Perfect.
Just no Harmon on there. And I had Glover on my
You
betting
can
card.
actually afford.
Oh, yeah, I could take him up pretty easily. Drop
Not
down.
because we can't change the head-to-head now, but you could have played Harmon over Hoagie for $200 more and still had the same lineup. Not going to go off your guy Hoagie, but I'm saying the head-to-head's over. But just a note, you did leave $200 on the table, and you have that swap.
Not scared to leave $200 on the table.
No?
No. Never scared.
I'm not either. I said this week you could probably leave a couple thousand on the table, but we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be interesting. The Scheffler factor is going to be a big one. The ownership, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be very good players that are lock buttoning Scottie Scheffler this week.
Probably not a bad idea.
And then you just got to get different with those other guys down below. I played the chalk version of it, but there's so many lineup constructions we talked about and dudes that you can use at the bottom to make it different.
One guy who screwed me last week that still rates out pretty well, especially for what he does well, is Ben Griffin here at 73. It doesn't seem like many are going to him.
Yep, no one's on him. Usually they are. Usually he pops as a value. I do think that whole range, maybe Hodges is the only one. Gim always gets a little bit, but like I'm saying, when you go Todd, Gim, Kevin Yu, Patrick Rogers, Cam Davis, Ryan Fox, like there's a lot of guys there, and the guy you just mentioned that could fit the bill as well. So I think there's options to get different, even with Scottie builds.
And they'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience for the Charles Schwab Challenge. Remember to play in the PME Classic on Underdog Fantasy. If you're looking for that Pick'Em entry, you can hit the newsletter or the description, if I remember to put it in. But I'll most definitely have it in the free newsletter, which is coming out on Wednesday evening, tomorrow, on the PME, Tambo. Kenny Kim, Aaron Bronstetter, Pat Mayo, the Custy Awards panel, which means the Custies are coming very soon.
Yes.
Still have to film them, but
I'm sure you'll get that done.
Garion's hard to lock down.
Yeah.
Out of everyone, it's Garion who's the tough one.
This is what people are waiting on. It's that tied me over. Like we just, U.S. Open's not for a while. Then we got no football. Like the schedule already came out. You did that. So it's like, this is the perfect spot. Fill it up.
ShipItNation.com, code Mayo will get you a discount. Any Lee guys this week? I mean, I assume it's Andrew Putnam because it's Andrew Putnam every week.
It's actually not. We didn't get there with it, but funny enough, one of the guys that really pops is Davis Riley.
Okay.
Down there. And then who's another one?
That makes sense because I did notice a lot of correlation just in terms of leaderboard between this and Valspar. Mm-hmm. And obviously Davis Riley has played well at Valspar in his career. Lost in a playoff there 3 years ago, I think. And starting to show a few signs of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think that's the one. And then it'll be one more.
He was 14th in Houston. He was 30th at the Byron Nelson. The one thing I would point out with that is those are two very long courses where he actually played pretty well. And this is obviously not a long course.
Yeah, we see that sometimes. And this is another guy that is very tilting at times. But Cam Davis was another guy to pop up, and he's in that range, that $7,300 spot that maybe not as many people end up with ownership. I'm only seeing like 5% on him.
I know that Byron does this a lot for the betting market, but I would be curious to know about some of these guys if they were relative values if you just played them every week on DraftKings. Cam Davis being one of those where it's like miscut's third when no one's on him. Like relative ownership versus placement points versus him screwing you 3 out of 4 weeks.
People always say that with certain guys, like only play Spieth when he's not owned, things like that. And I don't know if someone's...
No, I'm just saying to play him every week. Like you have to deal with him screwing your lineups.
Oh, yeah.
But when he hits big.
I think that is tougher in DraftKings or in DFS just because obviously so many other factors. But I think, honestly, there's even been stuff done on it where people talk about with betting cards. Like, it's definitely a thing. If you just bet your guys, and some of them are mid-range guys, some of them are long shot guys, and some of them are favorites, you can sort of just bet the same 6 guys every week that they play and just stick to that mold. And I think you can do really well if if you're on the right guys. So,
hey, listen, I did that with Luke List for like 3 years.
That can happen too.
And he finally cashed his 90-1. And you know what? I mean, it's not like I was up 90 units when he won on Lifetime on Luke List, but I think I was down 58 units on him. But he had a couple of top 5s to go in there too to get me back some money at the same time. It's just when you do something for so long, like contextualizing 90-1 in your mind, you win once out of every 90 tournaments, you're up money. Theoretically, you know what I mean? But it doesn't feel that way when you lose 25 in a row.
Yeah, and what ends up happening is also that people just don't bet it the same way or correctly or anything like that, where there's different setups of, every week there's I hit the 90-1, I crush, then you go look at their card, they had 12 guys on their card, they're up, they hit 10-1 for the week or 5-1 for the week.
I'm trying to play 7-1 every week.
That's fair, but you are upfront about that, honest, and that's what your numbers are. I'm saying there's a lot of people that are playing like what ends up being like a 3-1 card, but when the 90-1 gets them the 3-1, it's only talked about that they smashed a 90-1 winner. That's the tricky.
I bet way more on Tom Hoagie this week than I normally bet on golfers.
That's good. I tried that on Hovland last week. It burned me, but still.
Almost got there though.
Good sweat. Good little sweat.
Okay, that will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Smash the like while you're here. FantasyNational.com/Mayo. Free newsletter and rate and review the audio podcast. Code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy as well to get a deposit bonus of up to $250. You can get it on the Pick'Em game, and there might be more Pick'Em games exclusive to the Pat Mayo Experience coming very, very soon. Next week, we got Canadian Open, so we're treating that like not quite a major, but a semi-major because, we're all Canadian. We're going to have an all-Canadian show next week. All guests will be Canadian for the golf content for the Canadian Open. So I got Ulrich and Cam lined up. Obviously, Tambo, he's Canadian. Jeff, he's Canadian. Boom. We're off to the races. Stay tuned for that Custy Awards panel coming on Thursday, so please tune in, rate, review, download, all that fun stuff. I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!